3. A Smack in Time. Chapter 1. The World Always Ends. S3. A singularity has been detected. We're running out of time. The ground shakes. I find myself lying on the floor. Andy? I say, breathing heavily. What happened? I turn my head. A bulky contraption is trembling. Behind it, a few blurry figures stand by the wall. My eyes focus. I notice my friend Andy has his arms around a tall butler. Seems pleasant enough. Until the butler spins around kung fu style and crashes into some chairs. The butler jumps back into the wall, smashing Andy against it. They both fall through. As I get to my feet, the butler emerges from the debris. Half his face is ripped off. Ugh, I grimace for a moment. Then I notice a glimmer beneath his flesh. Metal. The butler was a robot all along. The robot turns to face me, its cold eyes glowing bright red.
Stay away from Richard's science project.
I shout. If we don't shut it down now, the black hole will get out of control. Forget winning the science fair, our whole world's gonna disappear. The butler says nothing in reply and continues to stand in my way. I sigh. Why do we always have to do this the hard way? You're probably wondering what's going on. Robot butlers and black hole generators aren't exactly the type of things you'd see across the street. I'd better fill you in. Might as well, right? After all, I've got nothing better to do except save the world again. But that can wait. Let's see, how should I begin? I guess I should start with something simple, something a kooky stranger once told me. The world always ends. Not almost, not sometimes, always. Don't worry, you'll understand soon enough. Before I forget, I suppose I should introduce myself. The name's Stanley. Time for a pop quiz. Is that my first name or my last? Actually, it's everything. No, really. My name is Stanley. It's ridiculous, I know. Whenever someone says my full name, it sounds like a taunt, and it does taunt me and haunt me every day of my life. But enough about that. Back to the story. My 13th birthday marked the end of summer, and sadly, the start of school. This time, I was moving to the 8th grade. I doubted much would change. However, this first day of school was special. Let me make something clear. I'm not a popular guy. I don't know why, but people call me average. Perhaps there's a bit of truth to that. I have average looks, average grades, and oh, who am I kidding? It pains me to admit it, but everything about me is average. Sometimes people act like I don't even exist. I guess I'm a little too average. So you can imagine my surprise when, at the end of school, a girl followed me to my locker and pretended to take a drink at the water fountain. As I headed for the bus, I threw back several discreet glances to confirm my suspicions. She kept her distance by walking casually behind others. In spite of her best efforts to throw me off, I could tell she was after me. I became curious. Was she cute? I needed to find out. It was my first stalker, and I'd rather have a cute one than a not-so-cute one. Hey, I'm only human. I took my seat in the bus and caught a glimpse of her flowing golden hair as she passed by the window. I didn't see much of her face, but her hair was all sparkly and nice. Sinking into the seat, I watched a few kids get on the bus. I didn't really pay it any mind. I wasn't interested in seeing who was on the bus this year. Well, I wasn't until I thought I saw that girl among them. I immediately averted my eyes. I tried my best not to act suspicious by coughing, whistling, and beatboxing all at the same time. It seemed to be working too, because she didn't so much as breathe in my direction when she came down the aisle. Was it possible she had followed the same path to get to the same bus because she lived in the same area? It was possible, I decided. My delusions of having my very own cute female stalker were smashed to smithereens. Not that I took them seriously, but it was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed imagining stupid things. But even if she wasn't a stalker, I was interested in the fact that a girl in my class, possibly a cute girl, happened to live near me. A friend talked to me during the ride, but I didn't hear a single word he said. I was too busy piecing together glimpses of the girl in an attempt to form a mental picture of her face. The end result was more impressive than I had expected. I tore my mind away from its fanciful thoughts long enough to leave the bus when it arrived at my stop. Then I deliberately walked near the windows, hoping to catch another glance of her face. I'll admit I was getting pretty obsessive, but I wanted to see how well my imagination matched up to real life. Yeah, that was my excuse. However, my plan was spoiled as quickly as it began. She wasn't on the bus. Startled, I wheeled around and gawked. The girl was actually stepping out of the bus at my stop. I call it my stop because in the last 3 years, I had to share it with nobody. She really was stalking me. Or, at least at this point, I kinda hope so. To confront her, maybe things would turn out well. I pointed at her. "Hey!" Yes, she looked straight at me. She flung her hair back in that oh-so-wonderful way, complete with slow motion and everything. Then I saw her face. My mouth agape, I was awestruck. I gazed into her glimmering brown eyes, expecting to see the staggering depths of her soul. Instead, I saw the universe in all its vastness and splendor. Figuratively, of course. Where was I going with this? I had forgotten. I theorized that her gorgeous eyes had the alien-like power to drain my mind dry of all its functions. All I could utter was, You there, girl person. I, wanted to say something to you, I think. Maybe, if I may?" "Yes?" she said again in a voice that echoed in my mind like a chorus of angels. Not that I've ever been to heaven, but somewhere between my heart stopping and lack of breath, it didn't feel too far off. "I wanted to say something to you." She laughed. "You said that already." "Did I?" I wasn't sure if I was imagining this conversation or if it was actually happening. Either way, I felt like an idiot, especially since the bus was still there and all the kids were watching us, their noses glued to the windows. "Then let me say something else. You've been following me, haven't you, ever since our last class together?" As I heard myself speak these words to such a cute girl, I realized how paranoid I had become and how stupid I must have sounded. "So you've noticed," she said, her eyes narrowing. I laughed nervously. "That's right. Of course you haven't been following me. Boy, all this time I was thinking you were stalking me for some reason, but that's totally—" "What?" "Is there a park nearby?" she asked. Still dazed, I said, "You mean like a big public park? There's nothing like that around here. But there's a small neighborhood playground down the road." "That'll do just fine," she said with a bright smile. "Take me there." The playground wasn't very lively. A mother sat on the bench reading a book while her 2 kids were tumbling down the slide, kicking and screaming. How nice. The cute girl took a seat on the swing and beckoned me to join her. I did so cautiously. This was taking an unexpected turn. I was sure she had ulterior motives. "Your name is Stanley, right?" I nodded. "What's yours?" "Karen." I cleared my throat. "Well, Karen, what do you want from me? No normal girl would just follow some random, and rather unspectacular, guy all the way to his house." Karen said slowly, "What do you think of your parents?" I froze for a second. "You came to ask me about my parents?" "Yes. Please answer truthfully." I stared at her. I could sense she was troubled. Maybe she was having problems at home and needed someone to talk to. I like them for the most part. They've never gone crazy on me, but they can be pretty nosy. And they definitely favor my little sister, but that's normal. I think they can be odd sometimes, but they're alright. Normal parents, I think. She gazed at me, her eyes narrowing. Your parents are normal? Are you sure? Yeah, I said, starting to doubt my own certainty. What do they do for a living? My mom runs a small store. My dad does construction. What do they make you do at home? Do they take you places? What? What kind of questions? Just answer me, she said softly. Please. She beamed at me. I couldn't resist that amazing smile. Well, they make me do chores and homework, and of course they take me wherever I need to go. She said, and what about yourself? Have you ever seen things you've never seen before, or thought about things you never knew or understood? No. I couldn't even understand the question, let alone answer it. What did that even mean? Seen things you've never seen? Perhaps something wasn't right in her head, which would help to explain a few things. No? That's it? You have an average life? She sounded disappointed. I winced. I hated the word average. I preferred to be weird, but in a good way. Karen looked down at the dirt, its surface carved out by the soles of many shoes. She fell silent, gently moving back and forth on the swing, kicking the dirt. She didn't say anything for a while. It got extremely awkward. I finally said, Are you okay? Is there something else you wanted to... She turned to me. Her eyes had lost their radiance. They had become cold and dark and were even starting to frighten me. You're not like me. Why were you allowed to live a normal life? Why aren't you seeing the things that I see? She bit her lip. Why? It's so unfair.